a growing health, wellness, and leadership podcast designed for you to become your most empowered self.
Great day, amazing humans. Welcome to the Empowered in My Skin podcast, where our mission is to help 1 billion people in this world think in more empowering ways. Empowered humans empower humans. So you are the right spot to become a lead domino for empowerment today. So let the show begin. Great day, amazing humans. Yes. Welcome to the next episode of Empowered in My Skin, the podcast. And our guest today is a powerhouse of transformation. She's the founder of Your Deep Life Transformation, Inc., and host of Your Deep Life for Christian Women podcast, of which I have been on. Yeah. Go and check it out. A soul-filled space where faith meets purpose and women are empowered to prioritize themselves and embrace life's next chapter with joy, confidence, and clarity. After 3 decades, y'all, of trailblazing in global marketing and building a successful agency of her own, she now helps women navigate pivotal transitions with grace and grit. A transformational coach, a published author, and a bold advocate for redefining resilience, not as a burden, but as a skill. We can't wait for you to meet this vibrant force for change. So without further ado, get ready for a deep, soulful, and energizing conversation with the unstoppable force that is Barbara Chambers.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you,
Nkechi. Everybody deserves an introduction. Don't mind those people that say, oh, this person doesn't deserve. No, everybody deserves an introduction.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your show today.
Oh, thank you for
really
saying
excited
yes.
about this. Really,
I am excited as well. If it's anything like our interview, which I actually said to my husband, wow, like, he listened to it. And I was like, I really loved it. I really actually really loved it. I loved how calm conversation it was. It was just, it was really nice. Very, very memorable.
Yeah, it was very organic.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was really nice. Yeah. So as an opening question that I ask all my guests, what was your most empowering thought that you've had of the day so far?
My most empowering thought for today is, and I was thinking about this, I want to say that where I am right now is a journey, it's a process to where I'm going. And I cannot take side steps. I've got to stay focused. And I was thinking about Saturday, I was coming back from Markham, I was on the 401, there was an accident. So I decided not to go on the express, to go on the collectors. And I kept on changing lanes. And every time I changed lanes, it slowed down. My lane just slowed down. And at the time I was thinking about it, I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And, you think about the experiences. And I realized that sometimes you just got to stick on the path that you're on. Because when we're changing lanes, we're just delaying ourselves from moving forward. And we switch and go somewhere else, and it just slows us down. And we switch again, thinking that's going to take us back in another right, and it slows us down. And what I learned was, stick to your lane, Barbara. Stick to what you know, where you want to go. You will get there, right?
In the time that is needed.
In the time that it's needed. But the more you keep switching, you're delaying. You're delaying yourself from getting to where you need to get to.
There's another, I love that. And I'm going to add, there's another kind of very similar analogy, because I talk a lot about run your own race, right? So when you think about sprinters that have to do like whatever, the 60-yard dash or the 100-yard dash, you have a lane. And what happens if you even slightly step over into somebody else's lane? You're disqualified.
That's right.
And so that's typically what happens when you try to run your own race with somebody else's equipment. Like, you can't, right? Like, you have to not only run your own race, but you have to run it with your equipment, what you're
Yes.
equipped with, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And it's okay to grow. It's okay to look at somebody else's equipment and say, hey, that might work with my toolkit or it'll add to my toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I think we can look at what somebody else has and try to mimic it or add it, and we're detracting, we're disqualifying ourselves from time and energy and effort, and we're finite human beings, right?
And
Anyway, yeah,
then it's not coming from a place of authenticity, right?
right,
You're now
right.
trying to mimic and be someone
Yes,
else, and it's
yes,
not who you are. So
yes.
it's actually causing more stress
Mm-hmm.
and more delay. As you said, you can't carry the weight of somebody else's journey. You've got to just be your authentic self on that road.
That's right. And you have to figure out your equipment that's needed to run your own
Mm-hmm.
race. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So, girl, we're gonna go in a little bit and like sort of pick your brain and experience. And first of
Okay.
all, don't get it twisted. This woman we're looking at has like it's not just 25 years of experience that she has. It's just don't get that face. That face has she has experience, so don't get
Oh
it.
yeah, there's a
Don't
number
be
of
fooled.
years added to this phase.
So let's talk about unfulfillment and generally in your experience, why, and well, I guess the focus could be on women, but just humans in general, but
Mm,
feeling deeply unfulfilled, but doesn't yet know what's missing, you know.
mm.
What's the very first question that they need to pause and like in your experience and ask themselves?
I think, first of all, you've got to ask yourself, I think you need to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way?
Mm,
Um, you've got to understand the root of where it's coming from. You're not feeling fulfilled. You're not sure why you're not fulfilled, but what are you actually feeling? If you're not sure about what you're feeling, and I think that's where people need to become aware of, in touch with their emotions, and getting a sense of what is this feeling? I know I'm unsatisfied, but I don't know exactly how to articulate what that means. So, okay, let's talk about what you're feeling. And some people are feeling frustrated, they're feeling angry, um, they're disappointed, unmet expectations, for example, right? And this is where sometimes the fulfillment of, I want it to be this, but I ended up as that. Or I thought I would be here by now, but I'm still doing the same thing I was doing 10, 20 years ago.
mm,
So it's, what am I feeling? So we can deal with the feeling so that
mhm,
we can then deal with the root to get you over the feeling.
mhm,
Because if you're stuck in your emotions, we need to get you through the emotional side of it so you can now think rationally
mhm.
and begin to put a plan and action in place so you can move forward.
So I started there because and now I'm going to ask you to take us through what got you to be
Mm,
able to express that and help others
mm,
deal with their feelings because I truly do believe that what I was going to draw out from you was probably more of from a place where you came from.
yeah, more than happy to share my story. Where do I start? I don't want to go too far back because there's a lot of years, right?
Mhm.
But I think for me, my journey of transformation really started when I turned about my late 20s.
Oh, that
And
earlier.
yeah, and it started because I was just angry all the time.
Mm,
And I was sharing a place with two other women, and one was a counselor, the other was a registered nurse,
mhm.
and then there's me, right? And at the time, um, I was very stuck in my life. I felt like I was just going through the motions of living and existing.
And if
Um,
you don't mind me asking, because your accent is very obvious, was that here in Canada or was that
no,
somewhere else in
it was still,
the
I was still living in the UK.
Okay.
I did not move to Canada. I mean, I think I moved to Canada probably about 14,
Okay. Okay. So I
14.
want a context. Okay. So
Yeah,
you were in the
yeah, yeah.
UK. You're in
So
the UK. Okay.
many years
Hmm.
before I moved to
Hmm.
Canada. And I was just angry all the time. And it just came out in these bursts of moments, right? And one day, one of the girls said to me, "What is wrong with you?" And I went, "What do you mean, what's wrong with me?" She goes, "You're always angry." And I went, "No, I'm not angry." She goes, "Yes, you are." Now, I didn't see it at the time. I didn't even recognize it. I just thought I was just being myself, right?
Hmm.
But she said, "You're always angry. Why are you angry?" And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm angry. I don't know. I don't know. And I kind of brushed it off, but it stuck with me. And I began to then watch myself because I wanted to see what she was seeing in me because I wasn't seeing it. I didn't realize I was so angry. And then I began to notice, oh my God, Barbara, why are you talking to that person like that? Now, you wouldn't believe I'm a completely different woman today, right? So I'm a lot more calm, a lot more rational. Thank you, Lord, right? But back then, I was all mouth and, bit of I'm in there. And so I went back to her and I said, "You know what? I thought about what you said. I've noticed what you were saying. You're right. I am angry and I don't know why." She goes, "Have you ever thought about going into counseling?" I said, "I'm not mad. I'm not crazy." She goes, "No,
Hmm.
Barbara." And
Hmm.
again, beliefs, we think that going to seek help from someone
Yeah, it
means
means
that there's
something's wrong.
something mentally deranged about us, and it's not. And she suggested that I speak to a counselor. She referred me to a friend of hers, and I started this process. And I realized that um, rejection, abandonment, um, bad choices, guilt, shame were some of the root of my frustrations and anger. And I had to then work through and process all of that. One of the things that I learned was that sometimes a situation can happen in our life and we can make a monument of that crisis or that traumatic experience or that experience that we went through. And so every time we fail or every time something happens, we look back and that's the monument we see.
Hmm.
And it's the thing that is the eyesore of our past that reminds us again and again that I am a failure. I am worthless and there's nothing good about me. And so we get frustrated because we don't know how to move ourselves on.
Well,
And
that's
I
that
had to,
unfulfilled life that I asked you about.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And I had to basically tear down this monument because this past experience does not define who I am and where I want to go. And so I had to redefine myself and I had to decide what I wanted for my life. I remember one time watching an Oprah Winfrey show, and Oprah said something. She said, "If you don't know what you want by the time you're 30, by the time you're 40, you get to 40 and 50, you're going to be living the same life." And that scared the living daylights out of me, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, I need to change my life.
Hmm.
And so going to see a counselor, making new decisions. I went back to school at the age of 30 and took my degree, started my degree at 30. I didn't do the conventional thing. I didn't come from that sort of, perfect 2.5 family, It was dysfunction, welfare, social housing, and craziness, right? Um, but through faith, finding God, support of friends, good friends like these two ladies that I shared this place with who helped me at that time. It really did catalyst or help me to catalyst forward into
Hmm.
this new direction. And that's where the journey began.
Mm.
I'm not saying it was perfect, but it certainly did make a difference
Mm-hmm.
when I started going back, when I went back to school. I
It
changed my
effectively started that your rate, your lane, your
absolutely. I
race.
started in my
Yeah.
lane, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, that was the most pivotal changing point for me because I then got into a new career. That's where I started my marketing career.
Mm-hmm.
After I finished my college, I'd worked with a couple of agencies during that time while I was taking my degree. I then started my own business. Starting my own business just catalyzed me again into a whole new direction that allowed me to just grow and build my credibility and just meet new people across the UK. And then it expanded into the US and into the Caribbean and into Africa. And so I'm now working internationally, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and then another major incident happened. And I then had to make another decision. And that's when I realized I wanted to take a pause on my social personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I decided to go even deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that term, I made a decision. I just turned 40 and I made a decision that I wanted to leave England
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to come to Canada. And I knew coming to Canada meant starting again.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do believe in the law of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And the law of environment is sometimes where you are, you need to move from where you are to get to on the direction to fulfill purpose.
That's right.
And while I was living a great life and flexing and doing all the wonderful things, I felt something was still missing. And I wanted to do more with my life.
Mm.
And I knew I couldn't do it in England. And, you know, I don't know if you've ever been to London or if you've been to England.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very small country. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Ontario is bigger than the UK,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a province. And so I just felt restricted. And coming to
Mm-hmm.
Canada on vacation, I just felt like I had space. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I could expand, I could grow, I could become more than what I was in the UK. And so I moved. I came on vacation, went back home, put an application in, and 3 years later they gave me a visa. Here I am, permanent resident. I'm in Canada,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm doing this totally on my own. I didn't come with family. I didn't come with a partner. I don't have children. This was me doing this totally on my own. So a very brave move, very courageous move, but I knew what I wanted to do. And I just firmly believed nothing is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And if
So so I mean, a lot of what you just have described or talked us through could not have been avoided without fear, right? So how do you differentiate between fear that is holding us back versus fear that is signaling a space of growth?
okay, I think I had to work through what were my fears. And it took me a long time to get there. And I realized one of my fears, personal fears, were things like fear of people's opinion,
Mm-hmm.
right, was my number one fear. Um, I felt like I needed to live up to other people's expectations of me. So a lot of my decisions were based on that fear. If I did something, and that's why I talked about guilt and shame, because I internally was feeling shame about some of the decisions I was making, but I'm making the decisions because I don't want people to see me in a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't want them to judge me in a certain way. And so I had to learn that, or I've come to learn, I should say, people's opinions are just that,
Mm-hmm.
their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important opinion that matters is my own.
Mm-hmm.
Took me a long time to get to that place,
Mm-hmm.
right? And once I got over people's opinions, and a lot of that was when I came to Canada, believe it or not, right? Um, because people here just kept on saying, no, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't do this, and this won't happen for you. I'm like, shut up already, please. Right? Seriously, come on. Debbie Doubter or what? Right? I'm like, I can do all things
Things
through
right.
Christ who strengthens me.
Right,
Nothing is
right,
impossible with God.
right,
So
right,
I can do it.
right, right.
Right? And so me telling myself what I can do, because my opinion is the most important opinion, right, allowed me to achieve so much more. And I think you've got to get to a place where you fully understand and know what your personal fears are versus being driven to do something. You're doing it fearfully, scared, but excited and courageously at the same time, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
that's the two types of fears that you're talking
mhm,
about.
mhm.
But you have to understand what are your fears. One of my other fears I discovered was procrastination, right?
I'm laughing because we talked about it at another event around execution
Absolutely.
this weekend, and it's just the audacity or arrogance that we have, that we think we have more time, right? But anyway, go on.
We don't have more time. But procrastination was another one of my fears, right?
Hmm.
And now it wasn't about people's opinions. It's just about, can I do this? Can I read?
Mm,
It's now my own. Do I have the skill? Do I have the capacity? Do I have the capability to do
mhm,
this? If I did it, what people are going to think about it? And then it
mhm,
goes back to, I'm like, come on, Barbara, stop it.
mhm,
Right?
mhm.
I had to tell myself, just do it. Well, I had to tell myself, what's on the other side of that fear,
Yeah, yeah.
right? If you did this, what would happen?
Mhm.
So now let's not look at it from the negative. Let's look at it from a positive.
What could act? What's the best
What
that can happen? Yeah,
what's the best that could happen if you
yeah,
did this? And
yeah.
once I rationalize that in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm moving forward. And now procrastination is kicked out the door completely,
Mm-hmm,
right? And now I'm moving in the direction that I need to go in. And
mm-hmm.
I think every time you procrastinate or feel that you can't, ask yourself the question,
Yeah, why are you
what's
holding
the
back?
best thing that would
Yeah.
happen if I
If you
went
just
forward?
kind of, yeah,
If I
if you
just
kind of,
tried? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So with all of that, when did you
Mm.
start to um, hone in on what you truly do believe is the value that you could bring in this advocacy that and how did that then lead to your deep life?
Yeah. So
Yes.
um, I had been in a relationship on and off for about 15 years with
Okay.
someone,
Hmm.
and we had reconnected in 2017. And by 2019, I realized that this was not going anywhere. It wasn't going to happen.
Okay.
And I had to make I had to make a decision.
Hmm.
Whilst I love this person, I was in love with this person. I envisioned myself getting old with this person.
Okay. Okay.
I realized that I was not as much a priority in his life as he
Hmm.
was in mine.
Hmm.
And we were both on two very different pages. And I had to say, no, I can't do this with you anymore. And I walked away.
Mm.
And that started another journey. And now it's a journey of healing
Hmm.
my emotions and rediscovering who Barbara Chambers is
Hmm.
without
Hmm.
this person in her life.
Hmm.
And what did I really want to do in life? Coming to Canada, um, I discovered that people naturally felt comfortable talking to me. And I mean, talking some serious stuff about their lives to
Yeah, I
me.
can see that. Yeah.
And at first I'm like, why are they telling me their stuff like this? Why are they talking to me like this? I'm like, what is it about me? Why people feel they can just come and tell me all their business? Like some deep stuff that they've never shared with anyone before. I mean, people just felt comfortable. And I'm not talking about people I know. I'm talking about meeting people maybe for one or two times and then they're
Hmm.
sharing.
Hmm.
And I realized there was this just this trust that people felt from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very much, I love being my authentic self. I think
Mm-hmm.
I am just me wherever I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm myself, I feel people feel comfortable being themselves too,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I discovered that there was something about me that drew people,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to explore what this could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to Phoenix, Arizona for a week to a leadership training program with the Arrow Group. They're a Christian leadership program.
Mm-hmm.
And during that week away in Phoenix, I realized that I love marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing what I do, but I really felt the call to making a difference in other people's life.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And that's where the journey really began.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to a good friend of mine who lives in Atlanta, and I called Mark and I said, Mark, I'm thinking about becoming a life coach. What do you think? He gave me some advice, and that's where I started my journey. Um, and started coaching people, not really sure about what I was doing, but trusting the process and
Mm-hmm.
trusting what I innately knew.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got trained and got certified,
You just the rest, yeah.
the rest is history.
So then let's talk about that because then that even so that's a journey. I love how you
Hmm.
keep, marking the various journeys. So what's one belief that you can say that you held sort of about transformation that your experience as a life coach maybe has altered or changed, if there is one? And then maybe just marry a little bit about your faith and how that ignited sort
Mm,
of the manner in which you help
mm, mm,
others. Yeah.
yeah. I think life, I keep talking about journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Life is a journey,
Hmm.
and life is difficult. No matter how you want to spin life, life is just difficult. And there will be great moments, and there's going to be some really bad moments, and there's going to be some moments when it's not too bad, but it could be a bit better. How you show up in every moment of your journey determines how you move forward in life. It's your responses. And I realized that in the past, I was just immature. I never had the mentors or the teachers or the guidance. I was literally doing life alone.
Mm,
And so I was trying to figure it out until someone said, you need help. And don't be afraid to seek help. Trust the people that God brings into your life and understand that some people are here for a moment, some people are for a season, and some are for a lifetime.
yeah.
You
And you
just
never
got to
know about the
know that
lifetime. That's the
exactly.
thing, right? Yeah.
I mean, I do have a friend who I've known for over 50 years.
Hmm.
And we are still close to this very day,
Hmm.
right? We see each other every year where it's
Hmm.
possible, right? Um, but understand that life is all about transitions and journey.
That's right.
And we can't stay in one place forever.
That's right.
I read something a couple of weeks ago, the week before last, and it was on LinkedIn, and it was a barrister from the UK, and he wrote about comfort. And he said the worst thing to fear is comfort, because when we stay in comfort for too long, it becomes a cage.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, I never thought about that before,
Mm.
because we can get so comfortable in doing what we're doing
Mhm. Is
and
it the worst
never,
thing to fear or that we should fear comfort?
we should fear comfort.
Comfort. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because worse than fear, being afraid of something, we can push
Yeah.
through the fear.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
we're comfortable in something and we're sitting in that comfort,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
never move forward.
Right.
And then
Right.
the comfort becomes the cage that we can no longer
Yeah. And
get
then we
out of.
get past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can't get past
Yeah.
it, right?
Hmm.
And that for me just spoke so much volume because I realized that I can always push through, but
Hmm.
if I stay comfortable, I'll never grow into becoming,
Yeah.
into fulfilling my
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
What was your second question again?
It was about your faith, and it's about how
Mm.
you've um um how did I put it? Like how's your faith ignited sort of your approach to transformation and who you are today?
Oh, absolutely. I
Hmm.
think um, for me personally, my faith has been the thing that has grounded me.
Yeah.
It's kept me humble
Right.
and it has
It has
allowed me.
saved me.
Seriously, it truly did because I'm telling you, the road I was going down, I don't think I would be here today.
Hmm. Hmm.
In all honesty, I will tell you this, I'm not afraid or ashamed to say it, but in my 20s, I tried to commit suicide,
Hmm. Hmm.
and thankfully I was found.
Hmm.
I was rushed to hospital
Hmm.
and I was saved. Ended up
Hmm.
in a psychiatric ward, and my mum come into the hospital and telling me, girl, you better get yourself out of here.
Hmm.
Um, just check yourself out. Don't let them give you any medication or
Hmm.
sign you up for anything. Check yourself out.
Out.
And I
Hmm.
took my mum's advice, and that was like what I did. And my life was never the same after that. I had to make
Hmm.
some serious decisions. And I think if it wasn't for me coming to Christ in my late 20s, I don't think I would have been in the house with the two ladies that really helped
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
I don't think I would have overcome some of the hurdles.
Hmm.
I don't think I would have ever started my business. I
Hmm.
don't think I would have ever come to Canada.
Hmm.
I don't think I even would have had the faith or the courage to break or end that relationship,
Hmm.
right? But everything so far in my life, I felt like I was being guided
Yeah. I was gonna
and
say
guided.
God's a funny God that the path might have been different, but if God wanted you where you are on today, he would have gone you there.
I would have got here
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
still feel God gives us the gift of choice in him,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
we can still choose. There
Hmm.
is a path for us, but
Hmm.
we can still choose the path that we
Hmm.
want to go down,
That's
right?
right. But God
Um,
funds the reroute. Like I do think God reroutes. He
I
reroutes.
think, I don't know about I think God will put us in a situation where we can choose to
Choose
reroute,
right, right. You are
right?
right,
That's
right.
what I think God will do, right? But at the end of the day, it's always our choice.
Well, so the way I went reroute is like, okay, God's like knocking, like trying to get you down this lane, and you kind of you make this non-godly decision down over here, and he's like, oh Lord Jesus, okay, I gotta reroute the route. Like now I gotta knock here so that I can to
To
figure out
bring
how
it,
to get
it's
her
bring
back. Right. So that's what
like
I'm
I
saying.
said,
God will
stay on
reroute,
your
he'll make,
lane.
yeah,
Remember what I
he'll
said?
get yeah.
Stay on your lane. Don't keep
That-
shifting, shifting,
so,
shifting.
so that's what
Just
I mean.
stay
Like
the
God will
course.
reroute in some shape or fashion. This is Lord Jesus. Like, let me just gotta figure out. Let me just figure this remap.
No,
Remap this
I
journey. This,
listen, God, if it wasn't for my faith, I don't think I'd be here today.
hmm.
I find that my prayer, my meditation,
Hmm.
um, I will always get these drops of whispers of
Hmm.
just advice,
Hmm.
guidance. I'll
Hmm.
hear something or get an impression on
Hmm.
something during those quiet moments. I'm like, okay, God, I hear you,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like I'm being directed
Yeah.
in the
I think you
direction.
shared something really profound that I'm hoping listeners caught, right? Like when people start to think about like purpose, like I always say, purpose is in
Mm.
you. It's not something that you have to go and find. I
Mm-mm.
truly do believe it's something
Mhm.
that you allow to come forward, and it could be so many different things. And so one of the things I heard that I'm hoping others did was that you start to recognize what people reach out to you for a lot. And that may never have been like the thought that you ever had as to where your life was going to go. But suddenly it's like, why are random crazy people telling me everything about their life? Like,
Well, listen, awareness is key.
mhm,
Being aware of yourself, being aware of what's happening around you is going to
mhm,
be key to
mhm,
starting this journey. And I think when we become aware of, hold on, why is that happening?
mhm,
Or why is I'm seeing this show up in so many different places. I go here, this person talks to me. I'm in the hairdressers and people start talking to me. And people want my number and to talk to me. Even
mhm.
today, randomly, I'm part of a prayer group. And one of the ladies on the prayer group reached out to me and said, "Hi, Barbara, can you pray for me?" And I'm like, "I don't even know you."
But I can see that so totally, like based on how I
But
met
then
you.
I realized that
Mhm,
there's something she felt
mhm,
safe.
mhm,
She felt safe that she could pick up the phone and call me directly
mhm,
and have a very candid conversation about her life.
mhm,
And that's okay.
mhm,
Because God, whatever you want me to say in that moment that's going to
mhm,
encourage this woman
mhm,
to make a step forward to living her best life,
mhm.
then I'm open. I'm up for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I think your
totally up for
accent
that.
also helps on that. I think your accent's the cherry on the
I
just
don't
saying.
think that. I don't
I think
think.
it's
No,
very
seriously, I
soothing and
don't
it's
think the accent has
I
anything to do
I
with it.
I think there's some I think there's God and the accent. But anyway,
Oh, too funny.
so I have to take you through some rapid thrivers.
Hmm.
And when you think of someone who inspires you, who comes first to mind?
When I think of someone who inspires me, who comes to mind? I want to say, I'm going to say Nelson Mandela.
Mm, I just spoke
Um,
about him today.
I I remember the first time I read his book, his autobiography. I was so inspired. I went to South Africa after reading that book,
Okay,
right?
okay. Well, there you go. That's
There you
inspiration.
go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was so inspired by his life and that challenges and hurdles will come,
Hmm.
but the fight for justice
Hmm.
always prevails,
Yes.
and righteousness will always come out,
Yeah.
win in the end, always
Yeah.
win in the end.
Yeah. His remarkable life
Mm,
is a masterclass for all of us as we
all of
start to
us,
think about like
seriously. I would
unforgiveness
recommend
and
everyone
any
read the book.
yeah.
Everyone should read the book, A Walk to
Hmm.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Everyone should read that book.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
remarkable life.
yeah,
Remarkable life.
yeah.
What is a daily habit that helps you feel empowered or helps you with your thrive?
I think prayer and meditation.
Mm,
I wake up every day, every morning. I spend time in prayer. I read my Bible, and then I sit in silent meditation. And a lot of people
mm,
don't do that. And I wish they
I
would.
don't. Hmm.
I think after you finish praying, you
Just
need
sit
to
still.
sit
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
and allow the spirit to
The space. Yeah. You're right.
just minister to
You're
you
right.
after
Right.
you ministering to God.
I've heard
Right.
that a lot of times before. Like you talk to God and then God's like, yo, like, can you
I'm
give
still
me a
here,
moment to
waiting to talk
like,
back to you.
yeah,
Give me an
can you give me a,
chance. Give me
can
a
you give me
chance, won't you?
and I still don't and it's interesting like so thank you because also this weekend a doctor who studies neuroscience and I'm actually
Mm,
looking I already looked it up on YouTube is
mm,
done like a course or workshop on the science of silence.
mm.
And I'm intrigued. I actually want to because he's also a pastor, so I want to actually hear like the angle he approaches that from. So if there's any
Oh,
great
please tell
nuggets,
me about that.
I will let you know. Yeah,
I
I'll
would
let you know.
definitely be interested in that.
I'll let
Yeah.
you know.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
What is a book that has helped you with your thrive?
Oh, well, obviously the Bible.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
the number one book, but I think there's so many books that I've read. Um, I don't think, and I read a lot of books from autobiographies, from self-help books, from faith-led books. I think I wouldn't say there's any one book.
Well, you mentioned Nelson Mandela's book.
Well, Nelson Mandela's book was a
Mhm.
fantastic read,
Mhm.
right? But I mean, like you read I mean, reading like, for example, Michelle Obama's book, Becoming,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I think I read that in 4 or 5 days, that
Mhm.
book. I just could not put it down, right?
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to think, gosh, there's so many different
We've
books.
named three books, so
Well,
we
I want to
can
say Becoming.
Mhm.
I want to say definitely Nelson Mandela's book.
Those two have not been mentioned on the podcast in 320.
No.
The Bible has nothing. The Nelson Mandela book, no, and Becoming. I don't think it's been mentioned, so I can add those.
Please do.
Okay.
And then obviously
Okay.
my third book would be the Bible.
Yes, well, that
Okay,
one's
there
been
you
added a
go.
number of times. Yeah. What is an app that helps you with your Thrive?
I love listening to Diary of CEO, the
Oh,
Diary of a
so
CEO. I
the
love
podcast,
listening,
yeah.
yeah, podcast, love listening to that podcast. I've actually been listening to your podcast a lot recently, and
Thank
I'm
you.
finding that very, very, very thrilling and empowering. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Um, and then I think Simon Sinek is another podcast that I
Oh,
enjoy listening to.
God, I love him. So
Yeah.
is the app the podcast like is it like podcast apps? I
It's a
guess.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
App.
I'm on
Mm.
Spotify all the time,
Okay,
right? So
Spotify. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And what is one misconception of you, Madame Barbara, that people have as they see you, holding it down as a transformation coach, but just in all of your wisdom and thought leadership that you share easily with the world. What's a misconception that people carry of you?
I think people look at me and they think, the softly spoken um British woman that looks really lovely and cute. But people don't know that I grew up what you would call in the projects,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did not grow up soft.
Mm-hmm.
My mother literally taught us how to use our fist and fight
Mm,
as a child growing up. And we
mm-hmm.
had to learn how to draw blood. And if blood wasn't drawn, something was wrong. So
Mm,
don't
mm,
think when you look at me, the misconception people have is that I'm not tough.
mm-hmm.
And I am tough and I'm extremely resilient.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I've loved this time with you. So where do we find more of you online?
Well, you can find me at www.yourdeeplife.com, which is my
Yes, I'll share
website.
that link. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm also on Instagram at Your Deep Life and I am Barbara Chambers. I
Yes.
also have a podcast, which you
Yes.
know of, which is called Your Deep Life for Christian Women.
Hmm.
And that can be found on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Yes. And I will share all of those links.
Thank you. Thank
And
you very much.
as a parting question, quite excited to hear your answer. This podcast is called Empowered in My Skin,
Yes.
and would love to know what that means to you.
Empowered in my skin. I want to say that loving who Barbara Chambers is in her entirety, body, heart, soul, and spirit, and coming to enjoy this beautiful woman that
Mm,
is me.
mhm.
And I found that once I learned to love me fully and really like myself, I am empowered in every possible way.
Woo! Enjoy yourself, Barbara. You
Thank
deserve
you.
it. I enjoy you.
Oh, I love you
I'm
too,
gonna
my
say it
sister.
again.
Thank you.
I think that accent has like it comes at a premium. I'm just gonna say it adds a little zhuzh to the experience. I can
So
listen,
grateful for the accent.
I can listen to you all day. I love it. And wow, you definitely have lived a remarkable journey, and I'm so
Mhm.
grateful to have crossed paths with you. And in our B roll, we're talking about an opportunity to increase our connection. And
Yeah,
so, really, really excited to share more
yeah,
time and
looking
space and
forward.
energy with you.
Yeah.
And you're deep, but you're beautiful. And
Oh,
you're deep and you're beautiful. I didn't want to say but. You're deep and you're
mhm.
beautiful, and you are so many things. And
Oh,
and grateful for you. So thank you.
Yeah, ditto. I got to say the same. So grateful for you and so honored to be here with you. And thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And to everyone's listening, this is sadly where I have to say we're out. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you have it. I trust that you're feeling more empowered in your skin. And as the late Dr. Maya Angelou says, when you get, you give, when you learn, you teach. So it would mean so much for us at EIMS if you share this episode and tag us or teach an insight that you learned from today's episode on your socials and tag us. And remember to go over onto iTunes and leave us a review or follow us on socials at Empowered in My Skin. But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.